G'day friends, welcome to today's YouTube video. My name is James, welcome back to my channel, welcome if you're new. Today I am showing you my September 2023 Collage Club set of printables. We have 5 to go through. Just want to let you know where they're from, what I was thinking when I put them all together, and give you all that information, and then you can go over and grab them if you haven't grabbed them already. All the other information will be in the description box below, like where to go to join Collage Club, or if you want to have a look at the back catalogue, or to Etsy where all the old ones are stored when they're rotated out. We'll just get right into it. This, I printed out a matte photo sticker paper this month. I'm feeling different. I'm feeling like I want to go matte, not glossy for a little while. So this is a page of Virtual Voyage 8 minis. I think I did this last year for Virtual Voyage 7, but obviously a lot of the content from those workshops stays within the workshops, and a lot of it is just particular to certain lessons and certain things that we do. Like, for instance, these kind of random scribbly things are a Pictionary game that we play in one of our live streams, and then so Steve actually drew out the Pictionary. Then once they're guessed, they're kind of left in their unfinished state, and then I go back and finish them. And there is some of those there. That's Dr. Finkelstein, that's Beetlejuice, and yeah, the whole of Virtual Voyage 8 it was returned back to Burtonville. It's an extension or a sequel course to our Virtual Voyage 2 workshop. Was the first one we did, all inspired by the art and work of Tim Burton. It was really, really fun. I really enjoyed it, and I'll always say thank you to everyone that was there and to everyone who enjoyed on the sidelines as well. But like I said, a lot of that coursework stays in there, but there are people that follow along outside of the workshop that like to get some of that stuff into their journals. So I like to do a minis just because I don't want to put everything in there, but I do want to give you like a selection of stuff. So this is just kind of like a mini selection and in mini format. They're all very, very tiny. This also kind of works out double for me because it is easier to get them into my 5-year journal when they're a lot smaller, and also into my planner. So there's some really, really tiny stuff on here, like this individual little drawing of a schoolgirl from one of the things that I did was took children's storybooks and re-illustrated them as if I were Tim Burton, and this was from Madeline, the storybook, and this was The Witches. Some of it is coursework as well that we did. A few of these are lessons, and then lots of classic Tim Burton type imagery like the Catwomen, the Sandworm, and then yeah, just lots of stuff. Wednesday Addams inspired by Margaret Keane for the movie that Tim Burton directed about her life and work called Big Eyes. I love that one. And there's some original stuff in here too, like a little mascot done as one of those Tim Burton bebés. And these are towel, these are towel animals because it's cruise themed. So anyway, I thought they were funny. This is just a page of the minis, so that'll be great. Love that. Next, we have a page of mermaids. I love my mermaids. There's a bunch of different ones, some mixed media-y stuff like this, and then just some sketchy stuff like this. And then a couple of these are from my planner, believe it or not. I do, for some reason, end up drawing in my planner, and when I do, they're typically mermaids. This lovely, curvy, juicy mermaid is from one of my weekly planners. And then this one, I think, is as well. Yeah, she's from a planner. This is from my Hobonichi 5-year. This is actually supposed to be a baby Ariel, but the live-action Ariel. I originally had her beauty spot on top, but I think I must have retouched it out. Anyway, feel free to put her little beauty mark back on top of her eyebrow. And a pen sketch I did in I think it was an active shooter training class. I know, terrible. But such is reality about getting employment here in America. So that's how I keep myself sane, just by doodling through the class. And then, yeah, this one I did on the cruise ship, that holiday that we went on with Mum earlier this year. I did that out on the pool deck. It's so funny that we just finished Virtual Voyage and we have that like poolside activities part of the course, but this was actually a poolside activity for me, just painting this mermaid. I think I was eating ice cream while I did it. Anyway, that's page 2. Those are mermaids. And then this is page 3. This is super random. Like, these are a little bit throwback, a little bit stuff that you would never have actually seen because these are in old Smash books. Like, this was a drawing I did way, way, way back in the day. Like, didn't even know what art journaling was at this point. And I drew that. This was in a planner I had in 2015. So I hadn't discovered art journaling at this point. A lot of these things were things that these 3 in particular, I didn't even know what art journaling was. So that's how old those ones are. They're very vintage, but I wanted to get them in here because I like to just surprise you sometimes. But yeah, I guess that's how I used to draw. My old style. I don't say old because I mean, would I do it again? No, not really. But I mean, I feel like there's still obviously elements of how I draw is still in there, so it's not old in the sense that I don't do any of it anymore, but we've evolved a little bit from there. I do like looking back and seeing all the detail I used to put in the nose and the Cupid's bow, because I felt like my drawings were never finished unless I put all those little extra bits and pieces in. Anyway, random little doodles, a little watercolor. I think this is from a daisy sketch I might have done. This was another one of those training classes that I had that I was just doodling on my page. This is from my planner as well. Always loved her, this kind of mid-century, really angular body. I really like that. This is from a traveler's notebook years ago. It's kind of a square format, but these are digi-stamps that I used to play with all the time. And I just wanted to give you a full square of it, like the full spread. I was going to cut them out because they're just kind of collaged together, but I like the whole thing. I like all those colors. So that is that. Oh, that was another one from my training class. Actually, I think that one was too. All these really random sketches. My brain was just going nuts in that class. Clearly was paying really close attention. No, I do. I can focus while I'm drawing if I want to. These colors came out kind of weird. This is more of a fluorescent yellow-green on the monitor when you see it, but I think my printer thought that was as close as it could get to that. I probably should have shifted the color just a little bit, but it's one of those things you don't pick up on until it's printed, but it's a bit more of a fluorescent yellow. So depending what your printer thinks that color is, you might get a bit of a different result. I don't mind the mustardy kind of deep green color, but in case you see it on your file, it's not wrong. That's just what the printer thought that color was. This was an old piece that I did of a photo that Steve took of our friend Matisse, who is a dancer. And I just really liked her face and that over the shoulder look, so I just drew it. I made it all colors, but the original portrait, I think it was in color, or it might have been black and white. Anyway, she has a really great face. A lot of people have drawn the photos that Steve took of her when we did that shoot, which I think is really interesting. She must have a face that people just want to draw. I mean, she obviously does, but it's very captivating kind of a look. This is just a random piece from years ago that I collaged that I found in my files, as well as this. This, I kind of felt a little nostalgic when I was doing that mini monster. If you saw on my Instagram, I took all the little mini monsters that everyone did in Virtual Voyage for our live workshop. I took all of those and I mashed them all together into one huge monster. But the first time I did that was years ago in playtest Patreon. I made this big old piece and it was all watercolor swatches, and then when new people would join Patreon, I would draw a little house for them. And so I had this massive piece that I think I cut up in the end and used as like individual little, collage pieces, but I did have at one point this massive swatched out little neighborhood. I think it was called Neighborhood Swatch. It was like nice little play on words, but everyone in my Patreon had a little house, and I thought it was really fun. But that kind of reminded me of that, so that's why that's in there. A little nostalgic. This is unfinished, so you can pop your own houses here, or you can just enjoy it for the little swatch. And this was from my 5-year journal. One piece that I did years ago when I first got the stamp set, and then one piece that I did this year. I like to kind of sometimes redo the artwork that's already in there from years ago, just to see if I've changed, or my approach has changed, or my technique has changed, or my abilities have changed. And plot twist, yes, they have changed. They usually do over years. Doesn't mean they got better in the sense that like everything's neater, because actually the original was a whole lot neater, but I like that kind of represents how much looser I got, like how much freer I got in creating work that wasn't completely clean and neat and tidy, and I could really enjoy being a lot more carefree, which has been kind of the goal the whole time I dived into Mary Blair, into Tim Burton, into Yoshitomo Nara to an extent, Quentin Blake, all these type of artists that do very expressive, almost childlike work. Mindy Lacefield obviously being one, like much closer than all of those other artists. Even Artdrilling the Magic, doing all of those workshops as well. I have really learnt over the years to embrace a lot of what makes the process enjoyable, and for me it's a lot looser, a lot more expressive, a lot more carefree kind of work, rather than cleaning it all up. I do get the desire to clean up all my work every now and again and be really neat, but even then I'm not like I used to be. I used to throw things away if they weren't symmetrical, or if you know, I'd be lining a whole piece, and if one of the lines kind of went a little wayward, I would throw the whole piece out. I'm not that person anymore, and I'm glad I have grown out of that because I can enjoy myself a lot more often. And then this is the final piece. If you were in Virtual Voyage 8, you would have seen this as a font in the workshop. This I actually hand drew. Here's the original. It's a little bit bigger. These were hand drawn. I actually typed them all out, all the letters, and I did another version where I started to put extra tiny details in, but I figured once they scaled down, and depending on what setting you would print, a lot of these might not read these really, really tiny details. Like, see that little fuzz I put on the 11? So I actually used the original that was a lot cleaner. Yeah, I even started doing it, and when I was looking at it, even on here, it wasn't super noticeable. So I don't know if you can tell the difference, but this is what I settled with as being my final choice. It's a whole bunch of numbers for the month, 1 to 31, even though September is only a 30-day month. I want you to be able to use them whenever. And we haven't done numbers for ages. We used to do that in Collage Club, like every month I would do a different set of numbers or a big background kind of page. So I think I might try and reintroduce some of that. That's why I've got some of the bigger elements on here, because I just want to give you that variety. Especially over the 100-day project we did this year, there's a ton of illustrations, like hundreds of tiny little drawings. And so I want to give you things that are also a bit more substantial to use for collage work, things that you feel like you can rip up and play with as like paper textures and things like that, and then also the numbers, because as much as I love art journaling, I'm also a big planner, and I'm a big planner girly, so I do love to have me numbers. So I'll work on that and put that in my mind for the next few months as well. And this is just a bunch of colors that I really enjoyed. I chose this color palette because I thought it looked kind of nice together, a little bit different, and illustrated these numbers based on a font that I created for Virtual Voyage 8 that was inspired by a typeface that Tim Burton had drawn for concept art for the movie Big Fish, in which I later realized, after I'd been inspired by it a bunch of times, I've drawn it out a bunch of times, but when I was trying to piece together what it actually was, so I could make all the little rules, so I could expand on it, because I didn't have the whole alphabet. I had Big Fish, BIGFISH, like those letters were the only ones I had, but I wanted to expand into the whole alphabet to make the font. So when I put down all of the common themes or the common motifs that I would see in each of those letters, I finally realized that, and I felt so stupid when I realized it. There were like worms, and there were these hooks and these like these little, you know, the hooks, the end of a hook. There were different colors. They had these kind of, what are they called? Like antenna. And I was looking at all those things, and it suddenly occurred to me that they were fishing lures, like the little fake fish you put on the end of your fishing line to attract bigger fish. And it made sense because it was called Big Fish, and so obviously they're trying to attract the fish, and that's why there's worms on them, and that's why there's hooks. It did not click to me that they were lures for years. So I always think that is super funny when the absolutely obvious isn't obvious, and when I've actually looked at it in front of my face for years and it clicks years later. I think that's why I can watch movies over and over again, because there's probably jokes that I still haven't gotten yet that I will get in a couple of years' time. That's happened with Kath and Kim, actually. There's jokes that for 10 years I have not actually known what the context of the joke was, that it even was a joke, but then I come to know some little bit of information, then suddenly I understood the joke. Anyway, I find that funny, but this is the font that I designed based off of that, and I gave the font as a download in Virtual Voyage 8, the Lure font. So if you were in that course, you have this font, you have all these letters in black and white, but like I said, I printed them all out, I colored them in, they're all a little different from each other, so this is a hand-drawn version of it, but if you were in that course, you do have the letters, obviously, with the alphabet as well, so feel free to make some kind of companion piece if you want to make the month, like September, or 2023, you could obviously cut up some of these numbers to do that, you could use the 20, and the 2 and the 3. But yeah, I wanted to give you numbers because it's been a while, and I really love how they turned out. I was really happy with those. These are the 5 sheets for September. I'll probably get them up a little bit early. I'm not quite sure because I'll be in Australia by the time you see this, and I want to make sure that I do remember to get those up. So you might already have access to them. I'm not even sure when I'll put this video up. I'll probably put it up on the 1st. I think it's a Friday, so you'll hear from me then, but you might have already had access to these. So hopefully you've been having a great time with them. Remember, the silhouette files that I make are also in there, and that the month, there'll be 4 months rolling over, so at this point it will be June, July, August, September will be the 4 months, active in Collage Club. Everything else goes over to Etsy, but my Etsy is currently closed as of September 2023. I'll probably reopen it towards like the end of the year for Christmas time. And yeah, you can catch all that information on my Instagram if you need it. It's $5 per month to be subscribed. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and weekend. I will see you again really soon. Thanks, bye.